Hello guys, welcome to my new video, and honestly, it's 5 AM here and I'm extremely tired, but I decided to do a video about Shadowlands. I've gotten a lot of questions about people wondering, should I buy Shadowlands? Should I invest the money into a subscription in order to play this new expansion? And I have quite a few things to say about this in terms of my enjoyment, because I've been playing a lot of it. It's been a month, a little over a month in terms of Shadowlands release, and here are my thoughts about it. Now, I made a list of the things that I want to cover. Things including leveling, things like dungeon and raids, PvE content or high-end PvE content. We're going to talk about alts and we're going to talk about more casual approach, but I want to talk about the main parts of Shadowlands for me, which is PvE content. Now, if you do PvP, you probably might not like this video. In terms of loot and gearing, in terms of systems like Torghast Maw and weekly quests, as well as class balance and how to get invited into this highly populated game where there is almost a cutthroat environment in terms of pushing yourself ahead and getting that invite for those raids in Mythic Plus. So let's go and get started, and we'll talk about leveling. In terms of leveling experience for Shadowlands, I think it was extremely joyful to see the fact that you could do campaign quests and then you'll go into Thread of Fate, and that is going to be available to your alts. You're not forced to do campaign again. Instead, you can go do a different point of leveling. Now, the thing that I really didn't like about it was that you kinda locked into 4 dungeons, and come on, if you have to do 4 dungeons in order to reach level 60, it's gonna get insanely boring. But I can only say good things about this. Blizzard is giving you options in terms of leveling. Campaign quests were kind of boring, but you can level in like, I don't know, 5+ hours if you're really hardcore and sweaty like me. Dungeons and raids. And this is going to be the most interesting segment if you're following my stream and things like that. Now guys, you have to remember, I was so hyped about Shadowlands that I forgot that, you know, classic Naxxramas was out. They announced BC, or there were leaks about BC. I had no idea about any of this. This is how much Shadowlands have engaged me. I've been playing Shadowlands so much, and it's mainly because of dungeon and raids. I think the dungeons in Shadowlands, I've tested all our beta, I think they're excellent. I think the affixes could be a bit better. Things like Spiteful, again, I'm not a huge fan of Spiteful. Inspiring is okay, but I really like Prideful. I think Prideful is an insanely good seasonal affix, and I think it's almost on par towards Awaken. Maybe not exactly on par, but I think it's a very cool kiss curse type of approach, which I feel Blizzard has talked about for a really long time, but they've only decided to do it now. Keep going that direction, in my honest opinion. To the same extent that I can say that if you're doing 9 keys, +9s, +9s are actually considerably harder than +10s, because +10s have Prideful, and Prideful is going to give you an additional benefit when you kill it. So if you're stuck at +9s and you're like, man, there's no way I'm ever gonna break these 9s, 8s, 7s. There's no way I can get to 10s. 10s are actually easier than what you're doing right now. So don't get too discouraged. I almost forgot, guys. I hope everyone had a good Christmas or holidays or whatever you celebrate. And again, guys, you saw my blue jumper. That's something that I got for my as a Christmas gift. So, you know, I gotta show it off. But let's go look at raids. I think raids so far, Castellnacci has been a really good. Again, how many times have I done a video on how many times have you came back to World of Warcraft expansion, and how many times have the raids been terrible? I think the raid design team is a really good asset to Blizzard Corporation, and I don't think they've ever really failed. I really didn't like Uldir that much in BFA, but I think Castellnacci is a knockout in terms of what it brings. I don't like Stone Generals being the second boss and being somewhat almost like you're approaching a trash pack mob and you're like, oh hey, this is actually a boss. I didn't like Stone Generals in terms of what they approach as the second last boss, but considering that the Mythic Stone Generals fight is actually probably the hardest fight in the dungeon, requiring upwards of 300 or 400 pulls for some of the top world guilds, it is safe to say the Stone Generals is probably going to be the hardest encounter if you are a Mythic Raider. In terms of other bosses, in terms of Heroic and Normal, they were extremely, okay, I don't want to say extremely, maybe overtuned, maybe too hard, but I kind of like that. I like the fact that raids were hard. I like the fact that Mythic Dungeons are hard. Which brings us into the new segment of the video, and that is, what do I get for killing those hard bosses? Loot! What is going on with loot? And people I might get a lot of hate for this. I might actually get a lot of hate. I might get a lot of these comments, hey MadSkillzzTV, you don't know what you're talking about, and all this kind of things. I read those. I don't reply, but I just cry myself to sleep after reading those. I mean, I I don't see any comments. I don't read any of them. But either way, loot. You get very little of it in raids. Do you remember when heroic raids came out and they were giving a good amount of loot, and Blizzard was like, hey guys, sorry. It's giving too much loot. We need to nerf it, or we forgot to fix it. And everyone was like, what? This is too much loot? So loot is hard to get. In Mythic dungeons or Mythic Plus dungeons, you'll notice that you can do 5, 6, 7 dungeons and you might get one piece of an upgrade. How many people? Leave a comment below. How many? What's your record of doing Mythic Plus dungeons until you get a piece of upgrade? For me, I think it's around 5 dungeons until I got one piece of drop, and it was something that I didn't even use, but I considered that as an upgrade. Let me know. So Blizzard decided to say that, hey, we're gonna make loot like it's in Classic. Worthwhile. Hard to get. You're gonna feel like, yuppie, I got loot. I like that. I genuinely like that. I might get hate for it. I really like loot being rare. But I do feel there should be some kind of a bad luck protection. Now this is gonna bring me to PvP, and this is where I'm gonna get the most hate, because PvP gearing, okay, first of all, I'm stating facts. PvP gearing is the best gearing in the game. It is the best if you don't have a lot of time to spend in World of Warcraft and you're looking for guaranteed upgrades, especially if your class likes versatility. Playing PvP is going to guarantee you just need to get your conquest cap. Conquest cap gets bigger every week, and all of a sudden it might be like 2,000 next week or something along those lines, which might let you pick up like 4 items, maybe even more, and that's gonna get bigger and bigger. So all of a sudden you don't even need, you just need to do rated arenas or rated BGs, and your alt could get guaranteed level 200 pieces and multiple of those. And then if you're actually good at PvP, you're gonna start getting 1600, 1800. You're looking at almost mythic rating level gear. Now, am I saying it's easy to get that rating? No, PvP is hard, especially for someone... I don't do PvP. Fair play to the people who do PvP. Fair play for the people who like PvP. It's not for me. It's just something that I haven't really gotten into it, and that's why I don't put too much effort into it. But I have to say, it's by far the best way to level. In a couple hours, I can reach my conquest cap, depending on what it is, and I can pick up a guaranteed piece because I can pick that piece. I can, although it's going to have versatility on it, if you're playing Resto Shaman, hey, I can't get enough versatility on my Resto Shaman, so all of a sudden, I just spend those 2 hours doing PvP, I get a guaranteed loot. If I spend those hours doing Mythic Plus, what do you think is the chance of me, first, getting invited to like a plus 10 dungeon, 9, 8, 7, or whatever? Second, getting a piece of loot. Third, getting a piece of loot that I actually need. I feel there is far too much RNG right now in Mythic Plus system, to an extent that it's almost not worth doing unless you need that weekly cash. And I'm gonna get a lot of hate from this. Bring it on, guys. It's just something that I've felt over the last month or so. I've started doing PvP on all my characters because I am sick of getting no loot on Mythic Plus. I'm sick of investing time in Mythic Plus and not getting anything out of it, while I can just go do PvP and get a guaranteed item. Now people will say, hey, there's a conquest cap and things like that. Yeah, it gets lifted every week. You also have to understand, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just merely stating facts that I saw while playing this game like 10 hours each day. And I'm quite happy to see that PvP players can actually gear up without having to do any PvE. Do I think PvE or especially Mythic Plus loot tables should get some love, or I don't know, something different? You tell me, guys, how do you feel? Some of you who play PvP, how do you feel about this PvP gearing? Mythic Plus players, let me know. Again, comments in description, I'm reading those all. And the last system that I want to kind of talk about is going to be systems, surprise, surprise. And these are things like that I genuinely don't really care about. That's the Maw. So for the amount of people, again, everyone knows the Maw, but it's something that you're not forced to do. If you're a casual player, if you have alts, my alts never touch the Maw. The only reason to touch the Maw is to get those juicy gems. Now, I get a lot of slack from people always from my guild go to my channel and tell me that, hey, MadSkillz, you're not farming enough because there's tons of ways of min-maxing it. You can, for example, join a raid group, kill all the rares, get to like rank 4, level 5 of the eye, and just turn in the quest afterwards. But what happens if you get those stacks and you keep dying? You just pour it out and come back in. That is the next level of optimization. I refuse to do that because honestly I was just too lazy. So I just do the daily quest and that's it. And I'm really far behind versus my mythic raiding friends who already have, you know, gem sockets. But I'm gonna keep doing them all. It's not the worst thing ever. I'm gonna get my gem upgrades. I'm gonna not even touch it for my alts because I'm not bothered. So the Maw is probably the worst part about Shadowlands, in my honest opinion. But the fact that Blizzard made it not mandatory to some extent is really, really amazing. And the fact that Maw upgrades are also tying into Torghast is also a very cool way of keep doing the Maw that's also going to improve your Torghast performance. Again, only good things to say about how they integrate it all, even though the Maw itself is not the best system. Now, I talked about the Torghast a bit, and honestly, Torghast was a roller coaster of emotions. At the start, it was pretty easy, but again, the rotation of Torghast wings, the amount of Resto Shamans that came into my stream and were complaining, hey MadSkillz, I missed out on the, you know, the Riptide Legendary week 1 and I thought the rotation was gonna happen on week 3, but now we're in week 5 and it's not here. MadSkillz, you should have gotten it on week 1, you filthy casuals. But besides being a filthy casual, I get you. That is insane. The rotation of Torghast just felt really weird, and you were so punished by not doing certain things in week 1, whether you didn't level in time or whatever was the reason. Really, really weird. But again, Torghast started off really cool. Then Blizzard made it insanely hard by just buffing HP. And in their eyes, more HP, longer fights equals fun. Or I don't know what it was, but I think it was the biggest outroar I've ever seen. On WoW Reddit, there were literally, I'm gonna say 20 posts with over like 1,000 likes. And 1,000 comments on each just talking about how Torghast was ruined. Blizzard obviously saw those, and they reverted changes back to Torghast being a fun little experience that's not overly challenging. You do it when you have free time. It's relatively fun. I'm gonna say it. It's actually relatively fun. And because it's so relatively easy, you can experience these animal powers that are kind of out of whack, and your class, again, each class might have different difficulties, but I don't hate Torghast. I actually kind of enjoy Torghast, and I feel even casual players will actually like Torghast to mess around with their class. So what is the overall experience of Shadowlands? If you end up watching all this video, you have increased my viewer engagement by quite a bit, so thank you for that. And I get more money, so I get to spend more things on New Year's, and I don't know what this is going, but Shadowlands is great. Shadowlands is probably one of my favorite expansions in a long time, rivaling Legion. I would say that Shadowlands so far has been better than Legion, and I know that might be blasphemy, but I think it is a great expansion that has these weekly lockouts. It has a completely different approach to MMOs. You have weekly time-gated activities, your Conquest Cap, your weekly quest, your Torghast, your Maw to some extent. Again, Maw is more daily, but there is weekly quest. After you do those things, you're basically free to do whatever. If you want to do PvP, go for it. If you want to do Mythic Plus, go for it. If you want to do raids, PvP, and Mythic Plus, you can do it. You're not kind of locked in to this AP grind every day that you have to do. You have weekly quests. Finish those. You can do those probably in a couple of hours per week. And after that, you can, again, you have free will. You can spend your time as you wish. And I think it's such a cool and refreshing approach to MMO games. To some extent, I thought this is going to be far more friendly towards alts. Because again, the Maw is weekly, you have a lot of weekly things like weekly chests. Again, weekly chests has multiple options if you spend more time doing those particular things. But what I've discovered is that alt gearing is even harder now because of the lack of loot. It's so hard to get loot. Back me up if you think it's true. I think it's really hard to get loot, and therefore alt and gearing up alts, getting invited to those Mythic Plus dungeons is even harder now. I've seen screenshots of people putting up their weekly or dungeons in queue, and they're getting like 60 applications straight away. So it's actually lucky that a person who puts up a key even sees your name sometimes. And if you're not playing the meta class, have the right IO score and the gear score, you're screwed. So all of a sudden, alt gearing has become a real problem. That's why I brought my alts to play PvP, because PvP seems to be a far better option of gearing. Soon, this channel is going to be MadSkillzzTVs, and we're going to be doing Resto Shaman guides on how to PvP, because that's the only way to get. Anyways, guys, this is a long enough video. I really want to hear opinions on Shadowlands. I really want to hear how you're enjoying or hating it or liking it. How do you like your class? How do you like the class balance? How do you like, again, loot? I really want to hear your opinion on loot, because this is a hot button topic, whatever you want to call it. Put down your comments, and I'll see you in my next